me and my boyfriend had been dating for 2 years at the time, and for a few months I had been noticing that he wouldn't let me do anything on his phone. He wouldn't let me take pictures, he wouldn't let me take videos of us, nothing. So when my boyfriend would go to practice, he would always give me his phone, and I would just watch him in the stands. And the one day he was at practice and I was in the stands with his phone, I thought it would be a perfect idea to check his phone right there and then. So I went to unlock it and I did the Face ID and it didn't work. So then I put in the password and that also didn't work. So at that point I started getting mad, and then I noticed that all his notifications were saying notifications when they would pop up. So that means that he changed the settings on his phone. So I couldn't see the names of who was texting him or the messages. So at that point I was fed up. After practice I was like, hey, why have you been acting so funny lately? And then I confronted him about his phone, and he was just like, oh, that's nothing, trying to play it off. I got into a big fight and we didn't talk for 2 weeks. I was going to a quince that weekend with my best friend, so we went to the mall to go look for outfits. When I was in the store, my best friend saw my boyfriend across the store with another girl holding hands. We followed them around the entire mall and we seen them kissing, hugging, and even sharing food. So of course I was upset and I went home crying. And I did what any other crazy girl would do. I knew his older brother always liked me, but I turned him down all the time. He was really hot too, so I hit him up telling him to come over. Of course he did. I told him everything and he told me he was gonna fight his brother, and he was like, he shouldn't be treating you like that. We continued talking. After that he was like, I like you, and I was like, well, I like you too. So after that we made it official and we ended up telling his brother, who is now my ex, and he got upset, but I was like, dude, I seen you at the mall with another girl. Being with his brother was the best revenge though, since we've been dating for 4 years now, and my ex-boyfriend got the girl pregnant and abandoned his new baby mama, and to this day he still begs me to get back together with him.
Am I wrong for refusing to let my sister have my wedding dress? I, female 26, was supposed to get married to my fiance, 30 male, on August 17, but he passed away suddenly in a car accident a month before. It was so devastating and pain is pretty much raw for me. I moved back with my parents to get familiarity and support. My parents have been so helpful, but my twin sister and I aren't so close. She's engaged and getting married before the end of this year. She keeps ranting about her future in-laws expecting her to pay so much money for the venue and invite many guests. She said her fiance can't afford much, and last week, she and my mom asked if she could have my wedding dress to wear at her wedding. I was shocked by her request, but didn't react intensely. I just politely declined. Why would you want to wear your sister's wedding dress? I explained to them how this dress has personal attachment and value after they said that the wedding didn't happen anyway, and I didn't get to make memories in it, which was hard to hear. An argument ensued, and my sister called me selfish and unsupportive, and my mom sided with her and said I was wrong and that this dress will only stay hanging in the closet if I don't do something with it, since my fiance isn't coming back, and I refuse to move on even though it hasn't been that long. Dad is on my side, but I started feeling like maybe I'm not being helpful seeing my sister struggling and needing help. Mom said this might make or break our relationship for the years to come, especially when I don't have many people around me after this loss. By the way, the dress cost me $2,200 that I'd save up on my own. They claim I'm refusing because of its price and even went as far as to say that I must be planning on selling it or expect them to pay for it.
This man survived 24 days lost at sea by eating only ketchup and seasoning. Elvis Francois was repairing a sailboat on St. Martin's Island and was dragged to sea by bad weather. He tried to get back to the port, but he couldn't because he had to mount and fix the seal. He tried calling friends and coworkers but couldn't because there was no signal. He also had to constantly remove water from the boat to keep it from sinking. He even tried to light a fire to send a distress signal but was unsuccessful. So the only thing he could do was wait and eat ketchup and seasoning. He had to collect rainwater anytime it rained with clothes on board the ship to stay alive. He was very resourceful. He engraved help on the boat's hull and just waited. Eventually, a container ship spotted him and seen the word help and stopped and led to his rescue. He was 1,000 miles away from where he started. He said there was plenty of times where he almost lost hope, but he kept going. So that's a reminder, you guys, never give up.
When I was in first grade, I had a teacher. His name was Mr. Dorf. And I'm saying his name because I'm like 1,000% sure he doesn't work at that school anymore. And there's probably dozens of other teachers named that. Anyway, Mr. Dorf, and you can imagine what the kids would call him on the playground. Mr. Dorf was a first grade teacher. And, he was a stoic man, wasn't too affectionate. That's okay. For a first grade teacher, you would think he would be a bit more bubbly, but he wasn't, but that's fine. It was, I think, reading time, and he decided to put us all out on like the ABC mat or whatever that carpet was. There was things in that carpet. Anyway, we were all sitting down there, and he wanted all of us to stay quiet or be quiet or something having to do with quietness. And we all kind of sat down and stared at him while he just angrily lectured us about being quiet. And one of the kids, who was this class comedian, stood right by his feet and looked up at him like this. obviously mocking him and joking him like, I'm fully paying attention and look how quiet I am. Like, this teacher was fed up. Like, he was fed up. And me and my friend were looking at this kid doing that because we both thought he was hilarious and this was the funniest thing we'd ever seen. We start laughing. And I feel like maybe looking back, we must have offended him. We must have like hit a nerve. He looked straight at me because I was on the side. He looked straight at me and he goes, "What's so funny?" And I'm like, oh. And it was at me. It was all towards me. And you know what he says? He says, "Go get your journal, Josadak." In elementary school, everybody called me Josadak. That's, yeah. And I had to get up in front of the whole class and go get my journal. And I'm like, because when the journals, we would all place our journals right next to each other in a line in the book nook, like near the backpacks, so that if anything ever happened during the day and the teacher asked you to go get your journal or your notebook, he could write a note home to your parents and they had to sign it and you had to bring it back signed. Okay. And I bring it back to him knowing that this was my first infraction, my first note home. And he takes my journal, he goes, and he's like, starts writing away. I don't know what he could possibly be writing. I don't know what's all this novel that he's doing. And then he gives it to me. And I'm just like completely distraught. I'm crying and I sit down, I'm so quiet. And yeah, I had to finesse my way. I literally just took it home and kept it a secret from my parents for 3 days. If you want to know what I did in order to return that to school without getting in trouble, please let me know because it's hilarious. After I got that note, I literally couldn't even read it. I don't even know what it said. A lot of people are asking me what it said. I don't know what it said. I just know it said something bad. Josadak was a bad girl. She was laughing in class when she knew she was supposed to be quiet. Something like that, probably. Anyway, I took it home and I just kept it in my bag. And I kind of looked at it and I was like, "Ma, I need to talk to you about something later." Because there was no way I was telling my dad. There was just no way. So I was just prolonging and I would just kind of hold the note and I'd be like, "Ma, there's something I need to talk to you about." And she's like, "Okay, what do you need to talk to me about?" And I'm like, "Well, I kind of got a note at school." And she's like, "Well, you need to talk to your dad about it." And I'm like, I just cried more. And so eventually I just kind of left it alone because my dad was busy. He honestly was. And so that was the weekend. And then Monday rolled around and I just kind of left it alone because my dad's busy Sundays, my dad's busy, he's busy, and I just prolonged it and I just was crying to mom. I was like, "Mom, why can't you sign it? Why can't you do it?" She's like, "No, your dad has to do it. Your dad has to do it." Mommy, you could have had my bag, but you didn't. Anyway, I was really considering signing it myself, but I knew that wasn't right. It wasn't right. And so anyway, my morals, I went to school and I just kind of was hoping my teacher would forget about it. So I kept it in my backpack and my teacher was like, "Where's your note?" The minute I walked in, "Where's your note? Did your parents sign it?" And I was like, "Oh, I forgot to show them my note." He was like, Sure. Have them sign it and bring it to me tomorrow or I'm going to call them." Why do you hate me? Why? So I go back home and I sign it myself. Morals out the window. And I come back to school the next day, Tuesday. He doesn't ask. He doesn't ask to see it. And I'm like, ask me to see it because I studied my mom's signature and I got it down to a T. There's no way you're going to be able to tell. So no, he just never asked me. And you know what? It's better off that way. I committed forgery. It's a first grader committing crimes. I was not the only one laughing. Why did I get sent home with the note?